Hello there, folks. Patricia here. Have you ever had times when you're like, oh my God, if I add one more thing to my brain, it's just going to like explode because there just seems to be so much going on in there. And you're just letting all of these random things float around and it's overwhelming and exhausting, right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today and talk specifically about how to get all those dang checklists out of your head and where it can service you much better, as well as what decrease your stress, keep you probably a little more organized, and help you make decisions faster. Okay, so before we jump into all of that, please remember to hit the thumbs up or the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps with the algorithms and all the lovely things, mostly to make sure that we get the message out to more people who are looking for those strategic leadership insights, looking to build their professional relationships more sustainably, looking to just be more empowered in their everyday lives, and learning how to really and truly take care of themselves. Those are all the things that we like to share here on this channel, and we want to make sure and push that out to more people. Okay, now let's talk about those swirling brain things going on. I I speak from personal experience. So first of all, I think I've said before in other videos, I am a planner girl. Always have been, like, and which means I have lists everywhere, right? I have my sticky notes that are random that I didn't have to collect and put. I've gotten much better about that. Or let's say I have a running checklist somewhere, and a lot of times it's in my planner. I still keep a physical planner because I'm just a pen and paper girl. I gotta. That's how I help get it out. And I use it sometimes on my calendar, my electronic calendar. Not too much because I really hate all that pinging going on. Drives me nuts. But I'm much more likely to use the notes on my phone to keep track of things. So there's a lot, right? But sometimes it's just going on and it's not getting out. And I will walk around and think, didn't I do that already? Or why is this still, in my head? Because you've been letting it sit there. I've been letting it sit there so long. I actually thought that I'd already dealt with the issue and I hadn't, right? And that's what happens to us when we let all these things, just keep going and building up and not taking a breather to be like, what is really going on? Now, one of the things I know can affect this for so many people are, if there are some like attention deficit issues, um, uh, and things like that. I am not trained in those conversations, so I'm not going to delve into them. When I refer to them, most of the time it's referring to myself or my own family situations, talking about tendencies and things like that. But I am in no way qualified to be talking about other people's, things and what they might should or should not do. Other than I am always here, though, to tell you, please go do your own research, go do your own homework for anything that requires some a little more specialized knowledge, right? So I'm always an advocate for that because, I'm the research girl. So that's a different video. Um, but when it comes to all of these things, it really and truly helps to be very deliberate about, first of all, recognizing what's going on, because we can get overwhelmed to the point of not getting anything done. And especially if you have perfectionist tendencies, then it really is piling on because you're like, oh, it should be this and I should have done that. And all of the shouldas keep coming up. And that's not helping anybody, right? I mean, is any of this sounding familiar? Because like I said, I have lived this many, many days over. So, couple of things that are helpful in when you're in the midst of, this just like racing thoughts, lots of stuff piling on, and just like feeling like you can't catch up. And number one is literally just go sit down somewhere. Go sit down, and like breathe, like literally sit down and breathe. Take a few deep breaths, or maybe you go outside and get some fresh air, take a short walk, or just walk around your house, something of that to help calm your nerves and give your brain a little break. Showers and bubble baths work for that as well. I'm telling you, you got to do whatever you got to do, because otherwise, now we're working ourselves up into this frenzied state that's creating like all of this stress in our body. This is something I can speak to, right? Because I've personally experienced this, and it's not healthy. Racing thoughts, racing brain, all of that. Like, it is actually a health concern that needs to be addressed, and finding what those things that are in existence that work for you personally, or if you're not able to, then going and seeking some additional professional help, or talking to someone who has more experience, because it matters. These are the things that people blow off and say, oh, I just need to push through, and pushing through is what breaks people. Pushing through has broken more than one person, because they wouldn't uh, stop long enough to really give some thought about what was going on with them in their brain, in their body, in that moment. So I always encourage that. Um, and, just settling not yourself internally, but also doing some things around yourself externally in your setting to help calm things. And if it's not calm where you are, like, go somewhere where it is. That's why I said, if you need to get outside your house because it's feeling too pressing, then go, sit outside, take a walk, all of that. And it is amazing what those simple things will help you do. They really do. They really are helpful. And that said, the one of the next really great things to do is to do a little reflection, and if you do it with pen and paper, even better, of, okay, what is going on, right? Identifying the problem of what is going on. Like, let's say maybe you have a project at work that's really been all consuming, and now it's making you feel like you're behind, and you've got this laundry list of to do things that aren't getting done. And when you do that reflection, it's important to identify, like, what are my priorities right now, right? What are my priorities? Of course, yourself should be at the center of that, and making sure you're taking good care of yourself. And then besides that, okay, what do I need to prioritize, like truly because there's a deadline or something like that, versus are there other things that are not as pressing that can be put to the side? That's not procrastination, that's prioritization, right? That's when you do that, because a lot of times when you circle back around, some of those things that seem so pressing are not. And you learn that when you figure out that you're able to put it to the side, and like the sky did not fall, right? And that takes practice. I know that because I used to have this false sense of everything was important, and that just creates major stress in your body and how you respond to things, and you're not really addressing things with a clear head because you're putting all this pressure on yourself. So I say, after you've taken some time to clear your head, do a little reflection. Just do a quick, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but it's like, okay, what is really going on? Like, what is driving all of this? And what are my priorities in this? And then one of the things is to literally, if you haven't already, make a laundry list. Like, just put it all out. no priorities, no numbering, all of that. The first thing when I said prioritize, that's like, okay, I've got a deadline. I have got to do this. Everything else is going to have to wait. Or there's an emergency that that's come up with the family. I've got to deal with that. That's what I mean about prioritizing that. But meanwhile, the next piece after that is to just do a brain dump. Write as much as you can down on a sheet of paper, and or if you have been writing things down but they're all over the place, like 1,000 sticky notes, 1,000 sticky notes, a small little notebook here or there, like bring all of that together and then start to organize it. Now, if you got a bunch of sticky notes around, I am telling you, one of the best things is to get one of those big giant pads, or you could just use your wall and a little bit of scotch tape and just like start sticking them up, right? Because if there are categories for things, or if you're going to do it by saying, okay, this is, top priority, this is middle priority, this can wait, right? And what can be uh, uh, delegated, right? Versus what can just be, you can put done. Like this really doesn't need to be done by you. Just it can go away completely, right? All of those different things. And like I said, if you were doing it, writing it out, then saying, prioritizing like your ones, your twos, your threes, whatever, just doing that type of thing. And when you get done with that, you literally can do all of this in 15 or 20 minutes. When you look at that, a lot of times it'll literally help you just like take a deep breath and be like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. Because maybe you're like, oh my gosh, all these things, and only like three of them are really, top priority ones. Others are twos, and some of them, the rest of them are just like, yeah, they're nice to haves, but do they really have to happen? So I know when I go through this and I do this practice, I literally just did it a little bit earlier today because I was behind. Some things came up family wise in the last couple of days. So I did not get my usual little weekly planning time in. I try to do it on Sunday evenings, but if I don't get it done on Sunday evenings, then it happens on Monday mornings for me. That's another thing to like figure out, setting a schedule for yourself to do these brain dumps and to prioritize so that they don't catch you off guard as much as possible, as much as you can. So there I was, and I'm like, okay, wait. Because I realized I had started putting things, I literally caught myself putting something in a spot that I know I was not coming back to. And when I had my planner right here, I'm like, I need to put this here. If this is something that I want to prioritize and working on this week for next week, then putting it in my little business journal is not going to help me because I don't go back and forth to that every day. My planner, however, I do, because things that are in my planner, I will also then transfer to my electronic calendar if it's appropriate, because I'm looking to balance. I'm like, okay, what are my other obligations and where am I going to have time to address these things? And then keeping that running list. I have one that I have for the month. So at the beginning of every month, I have these different categories of things that I'd like to get done with each of them. And then I try to move them so that each week I'm doing something related to one of them, right? So this is me trying to like do that whole little funnel down, knowing full well that things come up unexpectedly, like they did this week, or something that I was thinking about ages ago but never followed up. All of a sudden just pops into my head, or because someone sends me a proposal for something, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do that. Well, that just gives you an opportunity to go back, revisit, reset, and be like, okay, where did I leave off some things? What are some things that I need to integrate or that I need to carry forward? And maybe it's not going to happen this month or this week, but I can move it forward to the next week or the next month. And I know that may sound like a lot, but it really isn't, because it comes down to trying to help yourself compartmentalize things to a level that is completely manageable and that is not outside of your existing capacity. I am I am the queen of trying to do one too many things. I, I own it. Always have been. And how have I corrected it or addressed it over the years? By this. Keeping running lists, prioritizing things, and then recognizing, you know what, this is a like to do, but not a must have. Or when the time arises, or so I may carry forward, but doing it without the guilt. Because especially if you have a creative bone, there's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be something going on. And so you have to be able to give yourself some grace, give yourself the space to acknowledge, okay, this list is out of control. Let me let's make it more manageable. And you do that by identifying the priorities, figuring out what things you can delegate to someone else. Maybe it's delegating or completely removing, because in reality, it's really not your issue to deal with. You're taking on something from someone else, which is a whole other conversation, probably with some boundary conversations being overdue. But, there's nothing wrong with that, because in reality, once you realize that, that actually helps you. I've had to do that more than once, still doing it, where I was about to get all worked up about something that is truly on someone else's plate. But I was getting my helper, vibes in, like, oh, well, but we need to do. It's like, no, actually, we don't. He or she does. I don't. Right? And stepping back from trying to own something that's not really yours to own. You would be amazed at how many of those things are some of the things swirling around in your brain. They're not yours to own. And that is a huge, huge realization to come to, right? And being able to let that go and be like, you know what? It's not mine. I will inform whoever else. I'm like, I'm not working on this. Maybe if they thought you were, or something like that. But those things creep in really quickly and really easily. I mean, I literally have had some things pop up. Um, a phone call here. It only takes a phone call or two here, an email or two there, and now you're up to 3 to 4 or 5 items that were not on your to-do list but are now coming to you. And it doesn't have to be a priority, because it's a matter of your own capacity and recognizing, that's great. I said I would help that person with this, and and what's the time commitment? How long has it been since they followed up with it? And when do you actually have time to address it? I mean, that's something I have, sitting on my plate right now. And so, okay, this weekend, I'd had a conversation with someone who needed some strategic advice about how to handle a situation that is time sensitive. So I knew that I was going to have to sit down, carve out time to do the review of the things that they sent me to look at, and then schedule the follow-up call. And I did that as soon as I could, because I knew what my week ahead looked like. I know what it looks like. And I didn't want that thing to get caught up because I kept pushing it off, looking for the quote perfect time. I just made the time. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this at this time because I'm going to go focus on this, schedule the follow up call, and be done. And I did it, and it feels fantastic. And so right now, when I keep going through my brain, I'm like, oh, am I forgetting? And I'm like, no, because you already did it. Yay! Double pats on the back. I'm like, you already did it. And the reason why I had to check myself, because sometimes my normal habit is to take on this and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to just do a little bit. Oh, I don't have time. And then keep pushing it off until it becomes a huge matter, much bigger matter than it needed to be. And that's another thing that leads to these swirling thoughts and brains, is because we then do start pushing things off as opposed to dealing with them, which is a separate matter, to start saying, okay, time out. What's going on that I am not wanting to address these quote simple things, or these things here, and I keep putting it off, and now creating a much more stressful situation for myself. It could be you're burnt out, that you're just tired and maybe you need a nap. Maybe you're hungry, you need some food. I mean, that is how all of those things seem basic, but they are very true. Maybe you're dehydrated. I keep water around. I mean, your brain can just melt from seemingly little things, and they're not so little because they affect your ability to follow up and follow through. So those are some thoughts, about what um, what you can do. What the issue is when you got those, the brain, all the things going on, how to address it, and then just doing some reflection and review time with yourself, and then of course just do the thing, take the action, be kind to yourself, because things are still going to come up that may force something to get pushed down the list, and it's okay. It will be all right. But you have to do what works best for you so that you don't end up burnt out, stressed out, and ready to just walk away from it all, because sometimes we have to do that, right? So if something gets too much, you may have to give yourself a timeout. You're like, you know what? I'm going, for a drive. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go, binge my favorite show for a moment because I need a break. Guess what? You're allowed to do that. Do whatever you need to do to get refreshed, get reset, and then, get back to it. You do not have to be overtaken by the busyness of, coulda, shouldas, because you have 1,000 things going on in your head, and only 5 of them are really, of any importance. The rest probably can wait. And that's fine. All right. Just a few thoughts there. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments if you've had some situations like this, particularly as they come up with, your professional and your personal and that clash. I'd love to hear some more about that and how people are addressing that. Or if you'd like me to talk a little bit more about that topic, I'd be happy to. But let me hear from you. Let me know. And meanwhile, we will look forward to seeing you in the next video. But meanwhile, make sure that you continue to celebrate who you are each and every day. Take that one step to do something that's empowering just for you, and see what happens as a result of that. Okay? Take care. Talk soon.